Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today I wanted to talk about Bitcoin specifically because things are getting really close to, I think, the moment we've all been waiting for. Things are really starting to look like things are coiled up and potentially ready to explode at any point. We'll talk a little bit more into why I think that may not be immediately, but usually the market tends to do unexpected things, and so we're kind of entering the zone right now where I think it's kind of an any day type of thing. We could see a pretty substantial and significant move on Bitcoin kind of imminently. So starting out, I wanted to take a look at crypto bubbles. And what we can see here, kind of a general sense on the day for the market, we can see that it's pretty mixed overall. Obviously, Sui's been doing pretty well, over the past several weeks, maybe a month or two. Meme coins are generally kind of leading the way, but it's a pretty overall mix within the market. We are back to kind of all green everything. We had a couple of days where both the day and week were red, but everything else is kind of in green throughout. Looking at the fear and greed index, we are actually creeped up into greed at this point. We can see we did actually move up from fear into neutral, stayed in neutral only for a little bit, and then kind of almost immediately jumped up into greed after that. I think this is a little bit overzealous potentially, just because we still do kind of have a lot ahead of us. And so I'm cautiously optimistic for kind of where we're at right now. But ultimately, this is just something that I wanted to show, we are now in greed, which means this is the point at which things can get a little bit dangerous if you're trying to enter into the market. Obviously, we saw over here basically from February to I guess we could realistically even go out to June. I mean, this was a 4-month period of almost exclusively being in greed. So just to say that we've popped up into greed doesn't mean that we're going to immediately come back down. As we can see, this kind of period generally over through here, this was an uncharacteristically bullish time period where there was a lot of people who were, I think, unnecessarily fearful of what's going on. We've now jumped up into greed. Again, like I said, I think that's a little bit, kind of quick, but based on, what we've seen in the past, basically we had this whole 4-month period where everything was in greed all the time. So not a huge deal overall. Looking at the chart, this is kind of where things start to get a little bit exciting and where we might need to buckle up. And so what we can see is, this regression channel that I've been using TradingView to draw, we can see that, we have officially broken and closed above this regression channel. I did also draw this line. I made it yellow just so it's pretty easy to see. I did draw this line as well because, potentially we could use this as maybe more of the line of best fit. But even still at this point, if this is kind of the line of best fit, we can see that we are currently above this line. Usually we need to close and kind of trade above it. What we have seen is we've kind of run into this point of resistance, come right back down. We are still above the line, so it is possible that we close and kind of trade in this little zone, maybe kind of coil up for another break, but it is still entirely possible, as we saw here and here, and kind of this 3-day period here, these two here, it is possible to kind of break up in, over, around, something like that, and then come right back in is kind of a fake out. Given what we're seeing with the liquidation levels, it would not at all surprise me if this was kind of a fake out, get people really jazzed, think, oh yeah, we're breaking, boom, come right back in, liquidate a whole ton of people, and then we actually make the move up. That to me seems like that is a possibility. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. This is not financial advice because I have no idea what's going to happen. If I did, obviously I would probably not be making YouTube videos because I'd already be a billionaire or so by now. But so obviously not financial advice. I don't actually know for sure what's going to happen, but it stands to reason to me based on what we're seeing here. Obviously this is relatively balanced, but if we go out into the 7-day, we can see, massively skewed to the upside. We can see, $8.5 billion of leverage here. We can see on the 30-day, even more. We're looking at, close to $10 billion at this point. This is a lot of money that, and a lot of it is kind of above the $60,000 range generally. And so I do think there's a possibility that we see some sort of, violent move downward to kind of wick out a lot of these people and liquidate them all. And then we continue a move to the upside. So if you are going to be trading, be very careful because, again, especially if you're leverage trading, the market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. All it needs to happen is for it to, wick down and hit your stop loss, and then you've lost essentially everything that you were planning, and then it's on its way back up. So you could even be directionally right and still get liquidated. So particularly if you are trading leverage, being incredibly careful, especially where I do think there's a fairly strong possibility of a fake out here. just make sure that you're not getting in over your skis on that. That said, if you do want to trade, whether, if you want to trade leverage, obviously Margex is a great place to do it. That's what I've been doing over the past couple months at this point. If you just want to trade, I do also have a WEEX link in the description below as well. These are both great places to trade both leverage and spot. Again, Margex only does leverage trading, but again, if you're leverage trading responsibly and taking, kind of the points of maximum opportunity, then it can work out pretty well. Obviously, right now I have not been doing too much leverage trading, and if I am, I'm usually either going in with very tiny amounts, kind of expecting to get liquidated, or I go in with super low leverage, playing these buffers far more conservatively than I generally would. So anyway, if that's something you want to do, just make sure that you're being careful. It is very easy to get wrecked. So just, if you are, just be very careful. We can also see here on the chart, we are actually getting very close to creeping up into the overbought territory on the RSI map. We also can look from Bollinger Bands. We are very much actively, hitting the top of the Bollinger Bands here on the daily time frame. And so a pullback kind of even more towards the median or even towards the bottom side, I do think kind of remains in the cards. Frankly, I would have thought this would have happened kind of already, or at least a little bit quicker, but we haven't seen that yet. And so, we just got to be careful, make sure that, we're not getting too aggressive or too crazy. So anyway, something to consider as we're looking at the Bitcoin chart. As we can see though, structurally, this is looking, really nice. If we can continue to trade above this, I do think that we are looking to see a pretty dramatic and pretty quick move to the upside. But again, we never know for sure. For many reasons that I've stated in the past, I do think after the election kind of makes the most sense. But maybe since that makes the most sense, and maybe that's what people are expecting, it'll happen before then, because that's what people don't expect. It's really hard to say. So anyway, moving on, I wanted to check out Bitcoin price temperature, and this is something that we've kind of looked at a couple times in the past, and we can see that usually at the point of kind of maximum bull runs, we get into this like kind of 5, 6, 7 range. In March, the closest we ever got was to about high 2s. We didn't even crack 3 yet. And we've seen this kind of at multiple different points in the past. This was obviously a pretty short period of pullback. This was a little bit more prolonged, kind of something similar to what we're seeing here. This was actually even a little bit longer than what we've seen here. But if we zoom in a little bit, what we can see on the kind of smaller time frame is we've kind of been continually making lower lows and lower highs, similar to what we saw in the Bitcoin chart. However, we have started to flip, and we are now making higher highs. So it is a possibility that we do start to see, a run up here. Also, kind of coinciding with this, looking at the halving progress chart, just based on what we've seen historically, obviously, the 2013 run had kind of already made its leg up by this point. But what we can see is, there was a little bit of a retrace and then another equally aggressive run up to the upside. For 2017, we can see this is actually just barely the point where we started to see a pretty nice run to the upside. And obviously, it was a long way up from here. So, that's something to keep an eye on. Also, same thing, 2021, we'd started to kind of move up from our lows at this point, but obviously still, very far to come. So what we're seeing here is, we've basically stayed relatively flat. We have kind of pulled back a little bit from what the recent all-time highs in March were. But overall, price is held relatively stable. And so as we can see both in 2017 and 2021, kind of the run is just really starting to get a little bit crazy at these 2 points. And so I would imagine that we're kind of if we are to follow, again, there's no guarantee that we will follow kind of historical patterns. But if we are to follow historical patterns, it looks to me like, within the next couple of weeks, it's getting really close. And so, definitely a time to really start focusing, making sure you're keeping an eye on how things are looking and how things are developing within the market. Again, as I mentioned from multiple times before and for multiple different reasons, I don't think we'll see anything too crazy happen until after the election. But again, maybe a lot of people are expecting that, and because a lot of people are expecting that, that's exactly what it won't do. So anyway, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, please do give me a like and subscribe. It really does help me out. It also pushes me to more people in the YouTube algorithm, so hopefully more people can learn and be informed on what's going on within the crypto market. Also, if you have any comments, questions, feedback, concerns, whatever, please feel free to drop them in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of my comments, and so if you're wanting to interact with me or get in touch with me or any sort of thing like that, the comments would really be a great way to do that. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.